All right, hey everybody, it's Chris again. Just in front of my house. It's about 7:10. We're a little bit behind schedule. Waiting on my Uber to take me up to Oxnard, pick up the helicopter. It's a little overcast, and I'll check the weather in the Uber because it's about an hour ride from where I am before I get up to Oxnard and make a call on when exactly I can take off. But super excited to see the new helicopter and take a look at it, and then of course fly back to Hawthorne, which is where it's going to be kept. So I'll bring you along on the Uber ride when we get in the car. The moment of truth is here. Just behind that door is my R-44 Raven 2 helicopter. Registration number November 991 Charlie Foxtrot. I'll explain how I got to that number. That's a special registration number. I'll explain how I got to it in another blog. But yeah, just on the other side of this door, this is actually Light Helicopter Depot in Oxnard, California. They're a registered field overhaul facility for Robinson, and they're the ones that did my overhaul. So I decided to go with the overhaul option as opposed to a brand new helicopter, mainly because of the expense, the cost. This was a lot less expensive, and it was also just a little bit more flexible in terms of being able to pull the deal off. You know, I generally believe in buying used things. I've always owned like pre-owned cars and things like that. So the same sort of logic around my buying a helicopter sort of prevailed. And I'm super excited to see the helicopter. I know they've been working on it. I committed to buying this helicopter sort of in the beginning of the summer. It's now October. And they've been working diligently on it for the last few months to get the finished helicopter. So I'm super excited to see what it's going to look like. Okay, so here I am at the helicopter. I'm going to be doing a pre-flight. This first pre-flight I need to be really, really thorough because I'm also officially accepting the helicopter, which means that if I find some problems later, then they may not be covered under the overhaul warranty. Luckily, Jared Swenson at Light Helicopter Depot, he's super cool, and I don't think that would be the case. But if you're buying a helicopter and you don't really know the person you're doing business with, it's really important that you do a great overhaul inspection after the upon delivery, because anything you find, you want to make sure that you note that now and not later when you're flying the helicopter. So really spend a lot of time doing that first overhaul inspection pre-flight. And then also some folks would actually even recommend that you bring a mechanic and actually have the mechanic come and do an inspection as well. I'm not doing that because Jared would actually be the mechanic that I would use and that I trust, and he and I have a great rapport, and if there's any problems, I'm sure he'll fix it for me. So with that, I'm really can't believe that I'm about to take off in my own helicopter, but I have a little bit of work to do beforehand, so I'm going to go ahead and get to that. Okay, here we are. We're in my new helicopter. Hard to even say that without smiling. I can't believe that this day has finally come where I'm sitting in my own helicopter. Have just pre-flighted. Am sort of still getting acquainted. I've got a fair amount of time in R44s, but you know, everyone is slightly different. This one is certainly different than some of the rentals that I've flown in the past. So I need to kind of get the lay of the land a little bit, which I'm doing. You know, the basics are always going to be the same, and sort of like emergency procedures and all of that are going to be the same, but sort of where things are laid out is always going to be slightly different. So I'm going to take my time and, you know, get this run up and started, and then I'll probably come back and talk a little bit more about why I picked the Raven 2 specifically, and you know, just talk you through my flight back and sort of what I did to this helicopter, how I equipped it, and sort of what the purpose of the helicopter is, because obviously, aside from me flying it, in order for the economics to work, I need to make sure that I can put this helicopter to work as well. So I'll talk about all of that, but right now I need to focus on flying, so I'm going to aviate, and I'll communicate and navigate later.
Oxnard Tower information, Hotel 16510 Zulu, wind 300 at 4, visibility 8, ceiling 1000, broken, temperature 18, 2.14, altimeter 2984, ILS runway 25, approaching.
All the lights are out, all the gauges are in the green. Helicopter seems to be happy. So I'm going to go ahead and make my radio call here. So, Oxnard Tower, helicopter 9901, Charlie Foxtrot at Light Helicopter Depot with Hotel. Would like to request a straight out for the shoreline from November.
Helicopter 9901, Charlie Foxtrot, Oxnard Tower, Foxtrot taxiway east and cleared for takeoff information, Hotel, wind 260 at 4, altimeter 2984.
1 Charlie Foxtrot, yeah, correction on that, from Foxtrot, and understand cleared for takeoff. Out to the shoreline from Foxtrot.
Affirmative.
Oxnard Tower, 1 Charlie Foxtrot. When I hit the shoreline, I'd like to turn southbound towards McGill.
Helicopter 1 Charlie Foxtrot, roger, no observed traffic to the south. Contact Magoo Tower 133.25.
1 Charlie Whiskey will contact Magoo at 13325 and understand no traffic.
Affirmative.
Alright, I can't believe it. I'm in my own helicopter. This is freaking unbelievable. So I just took off from Oxnard. Now I'm heading down the shore. I'm going to take the shoreline all the way through to Hawthorne. And actually I need to get on the radio really quickly and get on with Point Magoo Naval Air Station. So I'm just going to clear myself from Oxnard and head over to Magoo. Point Magoo Tower, helicopter 9901, Charlie Foxtrot.
Helicopter 9901, Charlie Foxtrot, Magoo Tower, altimeter 2984.
Magoo Tower, 1 Charlie Foxtrot, I'm just at the marina. I'd like to transition through your airspace along the shoreline, southbound.
Helicopter 1 Charlie Foxtrot, you can transition the Delta at or above 1,000 feet along the shoreline. The CBC rifle range located 3 miles southeast of Point Mugu Towers, hot and fine seaward.
1 Charlie Foxtrot, making my altitude 1,000 and understand cleared through your airspace along the shoreline.
Helicopter 1 Charlie Foxtrot, that is approved, sir.
1 Charlie Foxtrot, thank you. Okay, so they wanted me to get to 1,000 feet. You know, one of the great things about flying the helicopter, obviously, is you can kind of cruise down kind of low at times, which is always fun. But in this case, they want us to get high because this is actually an active military base, and they have a rifle range there, and they want to make sure that you're
Cybertron 6 Mugu
well safe for that.
TDP.
I don't actually see the rifle range that's active right now. I think it's this one right here in front of us, but I don't actually see it, and it's sometimes hard to know if it's really active or not. I don't see any cars, but that doesn't mean nobody's down there shooting. I don't hear anybody shooting, but that also doesn't mean that it's not a possible hazard. So, you know, some of you might be wondering, why did I choose this particular helicopter? Why did I not, you know, go look at maybe some other helicopter? And the truth of the matter is, I did actually look at a lot of helicopters. I looked at some turbines. So my first inclination was to get an old 206, specifically a 206L B3, and I looked at a couple of them and was really interested in getting a long ranger. But to be honest with you, the ones that I could afford were super tired. They were really pretty old and you know, run down, and they either...
Helicopter 1 Charlie Foxtrot, free stage, approved, safe one.
1 Charlie Foxtrot, clear. Thank you very much for your help.
No problem, sir.
And so, so you know, I did look at some other helicopters in the turbine space. I also looked at and actually bid in an auction. There was a government auction for an EC-120B Eurocopter, and that actually probably was the sweet spot for me. That would have been a really nice helicopter to have, but again, probably would have required a lot of work and a lot of expense that I just really couldn't afford. Not to mention that it ultimately ended up going for way more than I initially thought. It sort of was one of those things where it looked very affordable in the early parts of the bidding process, and then just got super unaffordable after a little bit of time. So then I started looking at, well, okay, what am I really trying to do with this helicopter? I need it to work. I need it to make money. I really can't afford to have just a helicopter for me personally, only on the weekends. That was not really an option for me financially. So then I was like, okay, I need one that can do some missions and that has enough payload. Because I flew the Cabri G2. I thought that was a really cool little helicopter, two-person helicopter, but it was just at two places. It just didn't really serve much utility for me. You know, I wanted something that on the weekends I could kind of take, you know, my family out in, or friends, and it just wasn't going to be an option to do that in the Cabri. Maybe one friend, but and then I also started looking at, okay, well, how could I make money with this thing? You know, there's tours and training. But you really, training you can do in two-place, but tours you really need more than two-place. It's just not enough to have a two-place helicopter. So, you know, when you start to look at, and then I went back to the turbines, and I'm like, wow, the ones I can afford are old, they burn a ton of fuel, they're going to need a lot of maintenance, you know, and they're, you know, there's always risk that they won't be well serviced and stuff like that. So I started looking at piston helicopters, and the truth is that for a four-place piston helicopter, there's just not a lot of choices. There's one basically. So so you look at it and you're like, okay, well there's only really one choice, and that's an R44. That's a Robinson R44. Now they do come in lots of different models, and that's something that's always important to remember. Is that the Robinson R44 really comes in two big delineations. One is the Raven one, which is a carbureted engine, or the Clipper one. It's basically the same helicopter. It's just one has pop-out floats. So the Clipper has pop-out floats, but it's also a carbureted engine, just like the Raven one. And then the second one is the fuel-injected model, which is the Raven 2 or the Clipper 2. So those two helicopters, really were the two piston engine helicopters that I had at my disposal in my price point. I would have loved to have done a Bell 505 or even an R66, but those are just sort of unattainable for me financially. So I started looking at the two. I had flown Raven 2s. I had flown Raven 1s too. And I just preferred the fuel-injected engine. I preferred not having to deal with the carb icing issue. It's not a big problem in Southern California where I am. And I probably sacrificed a little bit in terms of cost. It's more expensive to deal with the fuel-injected engine. There's some things about the fuel-injected engine that aren't great, that the carbureted engine, actually is a little better at. But overall, I decided that for my personal preference, it was to have a fuel-injected engine. And then the last sort of big variable was whether or not I would get air conditioning or not. So because I knew I probably wanted to rent this helicopter, and I probably wanted to rent it to people that were going to use it for tours, I really felt like having the air conditioning was kind of important, because it can get really hot in the summer here, and it just gets to be a little much for people if it's not an air-conditioned helicopter. So that's sort of the logic. That was sort of the thinking that I went through was. And the other thing I liked is that an R44 is probably the most manufactured helicopter in the world today. I think it is actually. There's over 10,000 I think R44s that have been manufactured, and you can go almost anywhere. So if you get time in them, you can go anywhere and rent one and fly it. Obviously usually with a safety pilot, but you can sort of build time in it and become proficient in it, and then use it for in other instances. So that was kind of my logic around it. So I ended up with a R44 Raven 2 with air conditioning. And as I said earlier in the video, an overhauled one. I did that because it saved me a little bit on money, and was just easier to get a deal that was favorable and that would allow me to afford it, and then also put it into service right away and have it start making money. Hawthorne Tower Helicopter 90901 Charlie Foxtrot at 2 stacks with Echo. Would like to request an arrival to Star Helicopter.
Helicopter 991 Charlie Foxtrot, hop on time, make left traffic, runway 25, report midfield.
1 Charlie Foxtrot will make left traffic and report midfield.
A3 Hotel, turning base, we'll keep an eye out for that traffic. Number 2 behind then, thanks.
Hawthorne Tower, Cessna 773, Bravo Alpha is a mile south of 110-405 interchange, inbound full stop with Echo.
Cessna 773, Bravo Alpha, Hawthorne Tower, ident.
Ident, 3 Bravo Alpha.
Port altitude indicates 1,100. Enter left base runway 25 before turning final at above 1,500. Traffic directly ahead of you. Cessna 1,400 also on the left base entry.
A3 Hotel on final, still looking for that traffic.
Look up to A3 Hotel, traffic no factor, runway 25 to touch and go.
A3 Hotel, clear touch.
Okay, so that's it. First flight, 991 Charlie Foxtrot. Super excited to be here. Can't believe I have this helicopter. We're gonna start making it work for us, hopefully right away. It's already been put on the Part 91 LOA for Star Helicopter, so it can fly. If you check them out on Facebook, you can probably follow it better than I can. So that's it. First flight was good. You know, don't have enough observations yet on what it's like to own a helicopter, other than it's awesome to be able to get in one and just fly it. So, but other than that, still more to come. So we'll catch you next time, and keep the rotors in the green.